Rich Carollo, welcome to our show here today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, while Rich is the head of supplier firm Lions Circle, we're most interested here today to talk to him about his restaurant in Chicago. So, he and his family own a restaurant in Chicago that I've been to a few times. And Rich, I missed it this summer when we couldn't be there during ASI Chicago.
Well, I missed a lot of people this year, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump into it. Rich, when the pandemic first hit in March and restaurants were ordered to suddenly shut down, what were the first few things that you had to do as a restaurant owner?
Well, it got tough. The first thing you have to do is you weren't sure if we were going to be essential or not essential. We do takeout, so we had to try to figure out, okay, where do we fit in this mix? Um, we had to do a good round of layoffs, at least in the beginning, and then try to figure it all out. So once we got that going, once we figured out that the takeout was going to still work, and we were still getting support from the industry, or from the neighborhood, I should say, um, then that's when it was completely focused on takeout. Let's see how long takeout's going to be. Let's see how long this pandemic's going to be, and really focus a lot on the PPE loan that was going to help us out.
So as marketing is concerned, how has the pandemic shifted your restaurant's marketing strategies? What have you had to do differently during this time?
So, when it came to there's the restaurants are different. There's plenty. There's your fine dining, there's your takeout, and everybody else. I could speak on the independent neighborhood place. So when it was marketing before, we were promoting pizzas, we were promoting the food, we were promoting our beer garden. We have a very nice beer garden, which was really helpful throughout this time. So what we decided then is there's such a big push for save the local place. Between media, American Express came out with a nice promotion. So everybody was hitting the social media. We're still out here, guys. We're going to keep promoting. We're going to keep producing. And we were really happy with, considering where it could have been, we were pretty happy with what we were doing. Our uptick in takeout was fantastic, and the neighborhood really took care of us. So what we had to do was just focus on that. Hey, we're here. We're only here. We're a South Loop kind of company, and this is what we do.
Were there any new efforts that you guys had to do, or was it really mostly sort of coupling on what others were doing?
Well, it had a lot of when we were focused on takeout. So obviously we do packaging here at Lion. We started recreating some new packaging. We were handing out desserts for every takeout order, and all over that
Free
box we
dessert?
got what we do. We have punchkis, if you're familiar with that,
Wait,
and
wait, wait, wait. You have what?
the punchkis,
What is that?
it's a Polish donut, for the lack of better words.
Oh
And so
my,
they're
sounds
little,
good.
yeah, they're little deep fried Polish donuts. And so we put them in a box, and then we decorated the boxes. We had every week we came out with a new saying on them. We had a little jokes on them, just to try to keep us and everybody else going. And just please, support the businesses on the street. People were closing up. People were worried. People were worried we were going to close. And so we just got to keep that going, keep that marketing going, keep the Facebook and the social media going. That was pretty
I
much
had
what we were focused on.
I had one. You gave away free desserts. I had one place near me that's actually very much like Flo and Santos. They were giving free 6 packs of beer with all takeout orders that you paid by cash.
Well, yeah, that sounds a little fishy to me, a little bit, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that would work. That would work.
you know what? It got me a couple times. It was like
Sure.
you couldn't even pick it. It was just sort of whatever loose singles they had because they couldn't be a bar anymore. So they just had
Right.
the loose singles,
Right.
and
And they
so
had
they
an
made six
inventory they had
packs.
to move. Yeah. Yeah. That
Exactly.
makes that
So
makes perfect
desserts
sense.
or beer, one or the other.
Yeah,
So
well,
you talked
fortunately,
about
we had our liquor license, so we were able to sell that out the door.
there you go. You talked about the packaging that you guys were able to kind of shift on as far as coupling Lion Circle with your restaurant. What other promotional products have you been able to incorporate into the business as the 7 months have gone on?
Well, I mean, now that we've opened back up, um, being so beer heavy and alcohol heavy, because we have 22 taps online. So we had plenty of microbreweries that were coming out, handing out whatever promotions they were doing. And we were kind of relying on them for a while. Um, but unfortunately, all those guys took a big hit too. So your big brewers are doing fine, but the small guys, which is what we like to highlight, they were having a huge issue. So a lot of their promotional spending stopped. Um, so now that it's getting colder, we are, focused. We bought a round of blankets that we're selling at the restaurant. We're also doing a scarf and mitten promotion, trying to keep as much of the beer garden open as much as we could,
Hmm.
or still can.
Right. What had you done? Had you done anything with the restaurant as far as promotional products is concerned, either in the use of the restaurant or marketing the restaurant, that you now can't use anymore, that just aren't as functional as maybe they once were?
Yeah, so we were doing, I mean, you can imagine, in the section of the city we're really close to Soldier Field, we're really close to Millennium Park. All these things would have events all the time. So I would say the mix of the restaurant was probably something more of like a 60-40 local to 40% tourist or business, or things are going on, a Bears game or whatnot, or concerts. Now that's 95%
Right.
local.
Hmm.
So, we were doing things, we still have, the Bears are huge for us. Bears promotions, we would do, the Chicago Marathon finished right by us. So these were all things that we would promote, actually on the strip. Now we don't do any of those. And a lot of that product was what we were doing here at Lion too, either with hand fans or, we did a lot of kids crowns and things like that. Right now we've kind of took a hiatus on that.
Right. Gotcha. Reminder for the audience, if you guys have any questions along the way, either for Rich or any of our panelists or any of our moderators, just type them into the question box and we'll get to as many of them as we can during the session, and certainly follow up if we can't get them during the sessions. So as far as outlooks are concerned, what we're trying to do here with these three markets is provide our audience with a look at where these markets are headed. These are big customers. Restaurants are big customers of promotional products companies. So, what's your outlook for not just your restaurant, but also restaurants in general and the hospitality business as we look at 2021?
I would divide restaurants into two different categories, the ones that have takeout and the ones that don't.
Mm,
Because the guys that have takeout, they're going to hold their head above water. And if not, actually doing better. There's plenty, if you can imagine, plenty of your fast food guys have shut down their dining rooms. So
yeah,
they're doing nothing but takeout. Those guys are doing okay. Um, we're doing okay because we do have that mix of takeout. The fine dining guys, it's going to be brutal. Here in the city, they're trying to do igloos. The mayor's trying to pretend
igloos.
like, oh yeah, they have these big plastic igloos that they're supposed to put up, but you can't put any natural heat in them, natural gas heat. So I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work. But everybody's trying to tell, and you can put them on the street, by the way. You can put them in a parking spot on the street. So when cars come sloshing by, I'm sure
Nice.
it'll be a beautiful fine dining experience. So, so I mean, a lot of those guys are really going to take it hard, trying to figure out, work with their landlords, try to figure that kind of stuff. But the guys that are doing the takeout, they're going to be okay. Um, when the industry shrieks up a little bit, those guys get to grow better. We did all right. So in the next 6 months, though, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be
Yeah,
tough. What I have found is when you have the local guys coming in, people want to come in and support your restaurant. They want to support the bartender they were talking to. They want to talk to that waitress they've been talking to, and they'll stand in line for an hour for a dining room that's only 40% open if they're
hmm,
lucky enough to do it. Um, those guys will buy promotional products from the restaurant. Do your apparel, get a hat or a t-shirt that the busboys are wearing, or come up with your own. People say, you know what? I'm just going to go and put $50 down on a gift card because I know you guys need that kind of thing. Um, they'll do it, and it's been pretty fortunate on that. So until spring breaks, it's going to be tough.
right.
But the other thing that people are really focusing on are different creative types of packaging. The restaurants are doing more of a takeout. So if you can imagine, Olive Garden's really successful now, that meal for four, meal for six.
Hmm.
They're going to be looking for special packaging for that kind of thing. If you can build that presentation, and there's a lot of promotional product distributors that are doing that. If they can focus on that kind of work, they'll be all right.
So what else do you think distributors can do outside of that to help restaurants in their marketing efforts as they're planning for 2021, and maybe it's even more spring than current?
Right. So I would honestly go and talk to your clients. You were talking about pivoting before. Restaurants are pivoting, okay? Which means that they're going to be looking for help in what their new marketing plan is. Is it going to be more of a focus on the takeout, like I say? Do they have new menu items? Do they need to promote those new menu items?
Hmm.
Um, and honestly, the people that work in a restaurant, they could use some appreciation too. It's not easy, when you have the to and the fro, you have everybody arguing about the mask, and you get every individual customer that wants to come in to discuss about arguing about a mask.
Right.
These people have jobs. They got to do what they have to do. It's very, very difficult for them.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Well, before we let you go, Rich, I got a question from the audience from Jeremy. Do you have an online store for your restaurant? And if so, how were sales within that the last 6 months versus the previous 6 months before COVID?
So we do have, when you say an online store, I think you're saying like a website to order from,
I,
to
I
order.
think that's what I think that's what the person means. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we do have that. We have a pretty good visibility in DoorDash and Grubhub here in Chicago. So we get most of our deliveries on that. We did try, and because we laid off the serving staff, try some suggested they would like to try to do a delivery thing, which proposed a whole different set of problems. But
Sure.
when they're laid off, you're trying to do anything to keep your guys going. So yeah, it definitely it was 100% until we got to open up the dining room. And then once the dining room comes on, I would say now we're closer to a 50-50 between takeout and indoor dining.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Rich, thanks very much for sharing your insights here, and good luck as you not only try to build up the restaurant again, but with Lion Circle as well.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate it. I enjoyed this.